Hello, we're back, this time with the top 5 games that we've reviewed in 2020. Despite many industries coming to a standstill this year, one that has held strong and even thrived has been the gaming industry. This year also marks the beginning of the Bullet Sponges channel, where we've endeavoured to showcase titles that represent the breadth of co-op and multiplayer games on the market.
I do what I can. For most folks, that's enough.
We hope in a way that gives the viewer enough familiarity to gauge whether or not it's a game that will suit them. This list only covers the games that we've made reviews on, and there'll be links to those reviews if you wish to know more about them in detail. If you want to join myself and Bias for more co-op and multiplayer related content, feel free to hit the sub button below.
To start us off at number 5, we have Risk of Rain 2, the roguelike third-person shooter that quickly rose to earn its place as one of the best games in the genre, enjoying an overwhelmingly positive review on Steam. We jumped into Risk of Rain earlier this year after seeing how much success it had, and right away it's easy for us to see why. We had a great time wading through the relentless waves of enemies and gathering up all of the buffs, items and powers we possibly could, before ultimately succumbing to our inevitable death. If you haven't already checked it out, you can see our review by clicking the little box above. If you've ever played Risk of Rain 2, you'll understand why it's so well reviewed, and for a roguelike, it's definitely a must play if you're a fan of the genre. The mix of powers and the sheer number of enemies that get thrown into your path makes the game mayhem after the first few levels. And to add to this craziness, the powers you pick up can stack, so your little character can end up with a crazy rate of fire, amplified damage, or simply the ability to bump your jump to a double jump, and even to a septuple jump or even more. When we were planning this video, we had a fair amount of debate trying to organise these games. And while Risk of Rain 2 is a fantastic game that we believe deserves to be on the list, we haven't really felt the pull to play it too much in our own time as much as the other games coming up. And for this reason, for us, it sat at number 5.
At 4 we chose Splitgate, a title we hadn't heard much about initially, and truly took us by surprise. It has the qualities of a top-tier competitive shooter, whilst also adding really unique elements not found elsewhere. Outside of its fantastic hitbox detection and fast reaction-based gameplay, it uses a portal mechanic. These portals add a whole dimension to how you approach gunfights, and transform your ability to utilise what would otherwise be a really simplistic map design. It gave us vibes of Unreal's shooters mixed with Valve's Portal series, with both casual and competitive modes covered. Our time playing left us wanting to learn more of the portal mechanics, as we got beaten by players that had seemingly mastered them. This is more than just a basic shooter, and one that has a learning curve of its very own. The community stands out here too. The game has a really high skill ceiling, and we were inundated with offers to learn from the Discord community going forward.
At 3 we have the third-person squad command tactical siege game, Conqueror's Blade. When we first started thinking about these top 5 games, this wasn't on the list. However, after some deliberation and thought, I had a chat with Nex and we agreed that it should be in the lineup for 2020 for one simple reason. Of all the games we've reviewed in 2020, this is the one that I personally jump into when I just want to chill for a bit. Or I have time to jump in for a few games if I don't have the time for a decent session of something like Star Citizen or World of Warcraft. Given that of all the games we've reviewed in 2020, this is the game that I turn to the most, I couldn't not include it in our top 5. Conqueror's Blade mixes third-person combat like Dynasty Warriors and the tactics of real-time strategy games like Total War, and it shapes them up into an exciting PvP arena, where you face off against a team of enemy warlords with a customized army of troops and your own general who levels over time with some basic RPG elements. What makes this game great is the combination of commanding troops as well as the hack and slash combat of your general. And when you take this and you add the complexity of dozens of different unit types, skill trees, weapons and artillery, it makes for a really fun and engaging multiplayer title.
At 2 we have Apex Legends, a top contender in the Battle Royale genre, with the smoothest movement we've come across from any modern day FPS shooters, a varied selection of weaponry, and a great choice of interesting characters and abilities to pick from. To us, the pace of each game strikes the right balance. You can play the high-risk strategy of dropping near enemies and taking them out early, or holding back and looting until you're strong enough to engage favourably. The map size and the frequency of the outer circle closing in means that you don't spend 30 minutes of looting only to be beaten by a better group in a short exchange, and have to just queue into the next one. For us it was about 3 minutes of looting, before we got taken out by enemies we came across and had to queue into the next one. Add in a ranked mode that you can queue solo or with a friend, which rewards playstyles of survival as well as kill count, and seasons that add a myriad of new skins and map features, and we have a game that ticks all the boxes with gameplay that doesn't get stale due to frequent updates.
And finally to our number 1, and the winner of our Golden Sponge for 2020, GTA 5. Nex and I went through all of the games we've reviewed in 2020, trying to decide which of the titles deserves the number 1 spot. Of course, there are no right and wrong answers when people talk about their best games, and it all depends on what you personally enjoy playing. Simply put, for us, GTA 5 gave us the open sandbox where we can mess around with a group of friends with plenty to keep us coming back. This includes the team-based multi-staged heists where you and your friends have to plan and carry out different stages of setup and execution. It includes building up your empire of clubs, yachts, bunkers and money-making activities, and you can modify your vehicles, customize your character, and just spend a huge amount of time just messing around and having a laugh. For this reason, we gave GTA 5 the top spot and the golden sponge. To us, multiplayer is about enjoying yourself and taking some downtime to socialize with your friends, challenge yourself, or just put your feet up and chill out for a bit. GTA 5 gave us that multiplayer sandbox to do all of this, and for that reason it sits at the top of the list.
We have reviewed a decent selection of games in 2020, but it's really just the start of how we want to inform the community about titles they may not have come across or looked into yet. There are so many interesting genres within the multiplayer and co-op spectrum, and it's really easy to overlook those in genres you aren't familiar with. So many titles excel in very specific areas, but those that really stood out are games like GTA 5, that bring together a really complete package, where you could play with friends doing so many different activities. Stealth gameplay, action shooter, driving, flying, and plenty of different co-op objectives. As Bias mentioned, games are ultimately about having fun, and in GTA the number of different things you can do with your friends and other players online is quite impressive. We'll be looking out for more games that provide this level of enjoyment in 2021, so hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to keep up with our latest reviews. Let us know in the comments what you think of our top 5, and what your favourite games of 2020 have been. We're the Bullet Sponges, and we'll see you in the next one.